At 72, Isadora Mellon believed she had seen it all in life. But that morning, when the postman knocked on the gate with a confused expression and a small box in his hands, she felt a shiver run down her spine, as if something ancient and dangerous had just awakened. The box was light, wrapped in thick paper that seemed to have spanned decades, and had her name written on it in handwriting she hadn't seen since adolescence. Handwriting that, strangely, was her own, only from 50 years ago. The signature in the lower corner was unmistakable, and yet impossible. For a moment, Isadora just stared at it, as if any sudden movement could make the past explode into pieces before her. The postman walked away, and when she entered the house, she felt her hands already trembling. She sat in the living room, lit only by the dim morning light. The clock beside her read 9:21, but the silence around her felt like the middle of the night. The box seemed to pulsate on the table. Part of her mind told her to throw it away, forget it, pretend it never arrived. But another part, that curious, restless part, the one she had buried along with the secrets of her youth, knew that it was directly related to what she had spent almost half a century trying to erase. Very cautiously, she pulled the string sealing the package. The lid opened with a dry snap. Inside was only a yellowed envelope, folded twice, with the same youthful handwriting as hers. Isadora felt her stomach churn. That handwriting had only been used to write one letter, a letter she swore she had burned. She took a deep breath, bringing the envelope closer to her eyes. The paper had age stains, but it was intact. It wasn't a copy. It wasn't something recent. It was the same envelope she had held crying, half a century before, on the night that changed her life forever. The name on the front read, "To myself, open when the past returns." Those words hit her like a blow. She didn't remember writing anything so theatrical. But the truth is that much of that time was hazy, as if it had been lived underwater. Fear changes everything, even memory. With icy hands, she opened the envelope. A single folded sheet emerged, so thin it seemed to breathe. When Isadora unfolded the paper, the distant smell of smoke invaded her mind like an involuntary trigger, and memories she had buried under layers of denial began to stir within her. The text began like this: "If you are reading this letter, then he has returned." The handwriting trembled, as if written by someone trying to contain their own panic. "I need you to remember. I need you not to run away this time." A shock ran through Isadora's body. At that instant, the house seemed colder. She continued reading, even though each word seemed to pull another memory from the depths of despair. The night of April 29th wasn't an accident. You saw what you shouldn't have. He warned you he would return. And when he returns, he'll want what you took from him. She held the letter close to her chest as if she needed to stop her heart from plummeting. It couldn't be true. It couldn't be possible that that younger, traumatized version of herself had foreseen something so dark. She knew exactly which he the letter referred to. A name she hadn't pronounced since 1975. A name she had long thought she had invented to cope with the shock. The air around her seemed to grow thicker. The house, once silent, began to emit small creaks. Wood settling, perhaps, or something else. Isadora closed her eyes for a moment, trying to ignore the feeling that she was being watched. The letter continued. "If he hasn't appeared yet, he will appear on the first moonless night. He always returns when the darkness is complete. And when he comes, don't try to negotiate. You know what he's capable of." The handwriting became more crooked, more desperate. It was like watching her younger self screaming through time. Isadora tried to breathe. She tried to tell herself that none of this was real, but how to explain the letter? How to explain the original envelope, intact, which she was absolutely certain she had destroyed? She stood up, staggering, and went to the window. The street was empty, but her eyes caught something strange. On the neighbor's fence, there was a symbol scratched with charcoal, a circle with 3 internal lines, exactly the same symbol she saw the night everything happened. The symbol that man, or whatever he was, left engraved on the barn door before disappearing into the darkness. The cold breath that brushed against her neck felt almost like confirmation. Isadora recoiled from the window, clutching the letter so tightly it nearly tore. She needed to know who had sent it. She needed to understand how the past had returned so precisely and cruelly. And above all, she needed to decide whether to believe her version from 49 years ago, or if it was nothing more than a materialized illusion, a distorted memory taking physical form. Before she could think of anything, the doorbell rang, a dry, prolonged ring that echoed throughout the house like a threat. She froze. No one had visited her house for days. Her heart raced. The letter said that he would return when the darkness was complete. It was still daytime. But perhaps it didn't matter. Perhaps 50 years would be enough time for the rules to change. With dragging steps, she approached the door. The frosted glass prevented her from seeing who was outside, but a motionless shadow stood out, tall, silent, as if it weren't even breathing. "Who's there?" Isadora asked, even knowing there probably wouldn't be an answer. And there wasn't. Just another doorbell ring, slow, almost impatient. She recoiled. The letter fell to the floor, and that's when she noticed something that made the blood drain from her face. At the bottom of the letter, right in the corner, was a sentence she hadn't written. A sentence in completely different handwriting, a masculine handwriting. "I said I'd be back." The front door slammed shut as if something were scratching the wood with its claws. The shadow moved. The doorbell rang for the third time, and Isadora finally understood that the past wasn't just knocking at the door. It had found its way back.